138 MMA is back to bring you the hottest picks that you can find anywhere. We're talking about Dana White's Contender Series, Week 8. We have Marnicq Mann taking on Bruno Brazil. And for this fight, Marnicq Mann comes in 5-0 in her professional MMA career, whereas Brazil comes in at 7-2-1 in her professional MMA career. Now, there's some things I like about both of these ladies coming into this fight. Both have some decent wins on the regional scene. There's some things I don't like about both of them as well. More on one side than the other is a correctable thing, whereas the other side, there's nothing you can do about it because it's her height. So we're going to start with her. Start with Mann over here. Mann is only 5 foot tall, and in any weight division, you're going to be short. She's going to be the shorter fighter in just about every one of her fights, but she happens to be going up against someone who's 5'6", and at the strawweight division, that is a bit tall. So this is going to be a battle of Brazil trying to keep the range and Mann trying to close that distance. When they're on the feet, on the ground, that changes things a little bit. The height isn't as prevalent on the ground, although you can use your long limbs to sync up some different things on the ground. But you can also, with shorter limbs, a lot of those chokes and those like squeezes are a bit tighter because there's not any room, obviously. So the ground kind of neutralizes that a little bit, but on the feet, it's going to be a long distance for Mann to be able to close the distance on Brazil here. So I'm going to start with Mann, breaking down everything that I have for her on the positives, and then we're going to go Brazil for the positives. So for Marnicq Mann, she has really good ground and pound and some slick transitions on the ground. The reason I say she has good ground and pound, because she's not just touching. She's going to try to finish the fight with every strike. She's throwing bombs on the ground. She's not taking it easy on her opponent, and she does that in all 5 of the fights I watched. All 5 of her professional fights. I didn't watch anything amateur. I probably should have, but I didn't. All 5 of her professional fights, if it went to the ground, she's throwing bombs. Something that transitions from the ground all the way up to her feet, she throws bombs on the feet too. She's a violent striker. When I think of like smooth, crisp striking, I don't think of her, no. But I do think of violent KO power. When she flat KO'd, like not TKO, I'm talking like straight up KO. She KO'd a girl with a punch in one of her fights on the regional scene. Can't remember who she knocked out. I watched a lot of fights the last 2 days. But she knocked out a girl on the regional scene, like completely out. And at women's strawweight, you don't see that very often. So for Mann, she has some serious power, but she's only 5 foot tall. So can she close that distance and be able to land that? On the other side, Brazil, she has really slick jiu-jitsu. It's the problem is she's not super aggressive with it either. So she's content to take what she's given, which can be good because she doesn't probably make as many mistakes that way. But she doesn't try to force a lot either. And sometimes you have to force some things to be able to win the fight in a match where you're maybe coming from behind or something of that nature. But she is on a tidy little win streak. She is 5-0 in her last 5. I do believe she might be 4-1. I'm gonna have to check that out. She's on a good win streak right now. I know that for sure. But her 2 losses came earlier, and so did that draw. But anyway, so from the feet, she does use her front kicks and her knees really well. Now that front kick, that's going to be really, really crucial for this matchup because she is 5'6", like I said. That coming straight down the middle can keep Mann at range. And although Brazil has very little pop in her punches, she could outpoint you on the feet pretty easily, but those front kicks and knees do damage. So if she's landing those front kicks, you're eating those and coming through, and then you end up in the clinch getting some knees, or just catching a knee on the way and shooting for a takedown. Brazil has the ability to make this fight really ugly, really fast for Mann. However, she also doesn't have, like I said, she doesn't have hardly any pop in those punches. So when she's throwing the hands, those are just scoring points, touching you up. But when you're 5'6", 115 pounds, you don't have a lot of room for extra muscle mass because you're a tall girl at that weight class. So that makes sense. It's just the give and take that you get with the reach advantage. So one more thing that I've noticed here that is that's kind of a bad thing, but also a good thing at the same time. So Brazil's really active off of her back, right? So she's fishing for triangles, arm bars, guillotines, whatever. The problem, though, is she's also content to stay on her back at times to fish for things and play the jiu-jitsu game, as we heard Daniel Cormier say last week on the Contender Series. She's content to do that. it has paid off for her recently, and that's been good, but at the same time, that can't pay off forever, especially when you're going against someone who has very vicious ground and pound. So I know you're waiting for the final pick. For me, my final pick, I'm leaning man here. I think the power in the hands and that savage ground and pound is just going to stylistically match up really well against Brazil. There is a world where Brazil wins this by keeping it range with that front kick, landing the hands when she needs to, throwing the knees, probably controlling it on the feet more than on the ground, at least for the first couple of rounds. Maybe the third round, I can see her going to the ground and having some success after she's been landing body shots. But for me, I think Man has more paths to victory here. She does have power in the hands. If it goes to the ground, especially if she ends up on top, she does have smooth transitions. She can pass the guard pretty well. When she is on the bottom, she can get out. And when she does end up on top, that ground and pound is monstrous. So for me, the pick is Man. But let me know what you think in the comments. Like I said, I see a path for Brazil, and I won't fault anybody for taking that path, laying the money there. I don't know what the odds are yet. It's still pretty early, so if you've already got the odds out, you can throw those down there too if you'd like. But let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your feedback. Oh, and if you haven't done it yet, like the video. It goes a long way. I appreciate it. Tell your friends about this if you think they might be interested. But I'll see you in the next video.